as we celebrate the World Red Cross Day. On this special occasion, made all the more important for me because Dick Gordon has been the head and heart of the Philippine Red Cross. I'm privileged to have the opportunity to recognize the great value of the PRC for every Filipino family, indeed the entire Filipino nation, especially in this pandemic. To save lives, that's what PRC Chair, my dear friend Senator Richard Dick Gordon said when asked why PRC mounted such a gargantuan effort to fight COVID-19. He did the same to answer Yolanda, but this one is monumental and many times thankless. Dick's answer is elegant in its truthful simplicity. When an organization and its people have been saving lives for around a century, there is indeed no need for embellishment. Saving lives says it all perfectly. The PRC has become the Filipino family's lifeline, especially during health and medical crisis, natural and man-made disasters, conflict, and recently the COVID-19 pandemic. If not for the first PRC molecular laboratory, operationalized as early as April 2020, our samples would have had to be sent abroad. Hard time would have had disastrous consequences. I know another man who was born to serve. As much as he is made to lead, Henry Dunan's kindred spirit is Dick Gordon, the hero of Olongapo, savior of Subic. He transformed the cities, obliterated by an earth-shattering volcanic eruption, so strong it lowered the temperature of the planet by 2 degrees. He dug them out of the ash, raised them up to become models of peace, order, and progress. He wowed the world as tourism secretary with his ubiquitous and remarkably successful Wow Philippines campaign. As legislator, he keeps on changing our country for the better. No wonder the PRC soared to greater heights under his leadership. I love Dick. I don't hesitate to say that every chance I get, whatever the risk of misunderstanding. I also wish to take this opportunity to thank the men and women of PRC who fearlessly troop to the DFA every Friday and swab hundreds of our personnel. Their selfless service enables us to contain the virus in the office, protect our personnel, catch the contagion in time to stop its deadly effect, and do our work without interruption. So far, the DFA has repatriated 400,591 Filipinos. It's helped thousands more in this pandemic, all of them tested by you. You are integral to our success. I extend the same overflowing gratitude to the whole PRC team, board members, officials, staff, and volunteers for offering the entire country your shoulders to lean on. I know you are exhausted. You have families too that depend on you, but every day you turn up for work. Despite the dangers, you choose duty over self. I, the Filipino people, we all cannot thank you enough. Our country will need the Philippine Red Cross even more in capacitating our communities and strengthening the resilience and responses to crises and emergencies. For the PRC, the work is not done. The battle not or ever will be over. The fight goes on. The spirit never dies. Rest assured, the Filipino nation is behind you. I, my family, the DFA, our grateful people.
Today, as you celebrate your 74th anniversary, I would like to acknowledge your tremendous contribution and tireless efforts to help curb the pandemic in the Philippines. The remarkable teams at the Philippine Red Cross have conducted over 2 million COVID-19 tests. That's nearly half of the national test output. Medical tents and isolation facilities have been set up day and night to help decongest hospitals. Shattered livelihoods have been restored and food relief provided to people most in need. Now, 1 million most at-risk people are being targeted for COVID-19 vaccination. These are only some of the compassionate responses by the Philippine Red Cross that are alleviating the suffering of people every day. The dedication of volunteers and staff of the Philippine Red Cross inspires all of us to do more, to do better, and to go further, to reach the last mile, and to make a difference in the lives of most vulnerable people. Chairman Gordon, you have inspired a generation of volunteers to join the Red Cross's humanitarian journey. I thank you for your outstanding leadership, and please continue to keep inspiring.
Let me congratulate the Philippine Red Cross and all of you on the celebration of your 74th anniversary. When I visited your country and your national societies, I witnessed your commitment to our humanitarian principles and mandate, and I'm sincerely proud of your activities and achievements. I know that Philippine Red Cross has been at the forefront of curbing the pandemic and has tested more than 2 million, or almost half of the country's testing output. Also amid the pandemic and while responding to multiple disasters, you have vaccinated 1.2 million children against polio and measles, and now you are targeting to vaccinate 1 million most vulnerable people against COVID-19. Furthermore, you have been always responding to every single emergency in your country, and this is really impressive. In these difficult times, hope begins with the Red Cross and our amazing volunteers who work tirelessly to support the most vulnerable. Thank you for your great work.
You are one of the most exciting and effective national societies in the world, and that is what you are famous for. Chairman Gordon, I remember that the first time we met, I sat in your office and you showed me a picture of a ship and you described your vision for how this ship could be a symbol of hope for people in crisis in times of natural disaster. And when I heard you, it was a compelling vision, but to be honest, it sounded a bit fantastical. It was hard to imagine it really working. And yet when I started this job at the end of last year, one of the first things I saw on social media was you on such a ship, leading the Philippines Red Cross to bring relief to people affected by a natural disaster. And that for me is symbolic of you and your leadership, of the national society that you lead, that you turn big ideas into reality. You take these ideas and you turn them into practical assistance for people in crisis. And I know that nowhere is that more needed than in the Philippines. The Philippines is at the front line of a world that is going to be affected by ever more frequent and extreme weather events. And I know that you are always there. Chairman Gordon, you yourself are always there, and your national society is always there. And what you're doing with your laboratories, with the hospitals, with the ambulances, with your helplines, again, it is an example, Chairman Gordon, of your leadership of turning ideas into practice. But it is also an example of how a national society can really contribute to responding to this pandemic. And we use it when we tell the story to donors and to partners about why it is important to support the Red Cross and Red Crescent as a stakeholder in trying to counter the spread of this pandemic. We are all extremely proud of what you do. Chairman Gordon, we're proud of your leadership, staff and colleagues and volunteers at the Philippines Red Cross. We're proud of all you do to serve people in crisis.
Drawing on over 150 years of humanitarian action, the Red Cross and Red Crescent movement is committed to providing relevant and timely service to vulnerable communities now and into the future through its global and independent network of millions of staff and volunteers. Whether natural or man-made disasters, armed conflict or health and social care issues, Red Cross and Red Crescent volunteers and staff are there to help, guided by our fundamental principles: humanity, impartiality, neutrality, independence, voluntary service, unity and universality. We mobilize the power of humanity to save lives and relieve suffering. On World Red Cross Red Crescent Day this year, we celebrate the bravery and achievements of our volunteers and staff, whose life-saving and life-changing services ensure that we keep our commitment to humanity every day. We are local and international, independent and neutral, and together unstoppable.